The mid-season report cards are in, and the fans wait eagerly to see what their clubs have been doing at school. So let's see who's been naughty and who's been nice in season 2024 so far. What better way to start than where we finished in 2023? The Panthers are up first, and they have had a pretty decent start to the season, sitting at 9 wins and 4 losses in third place on the ladder right now. I've got to say, though, this really isn't the Panthers team that we've seen in previous years. They're lacking a little bit of extra effort. I don't know where it's coming from at the moment. I'm not exactly enjoying their defense in parts. Their attack is a little bit lackluster. They do have a couple of injuries to speak about. Nathan Cleary has been out for most of the season at this point. And their losses, well, they've come at some very interesting times. They had a loss to the Warriors, the Dragons without any of their origin stars. But round one is where it all started with a loss to the Storm. And they didn't score any points in that fixture, but their defense was still rock solid. So I'm not going to grade the Panthers too highly on this one. I think they're a B to start the year so far, and I hope that they can improve because they will still be in a championship race this year for the 4th year in a row. Newest team in the competition, the Dolphins, are up next, and I've got to say they've had a very spectacular season considering where I thought they were going to finish at the start of season 2024. They are currently in 4th position. However, I would like to put a little bit of an asterisk there. They have not beaten a top 8 team from last year currently. They do sit at 7 wins and 5 losses at the moment, and outside their 43-18 shellacking at the hands of the Cowboys in round 1, they haven't conceded more than 28 points in a game. But I still think that there is room for improvement, and that is why they are going in as a B plus right now. I just couldn't give them an A considering the teams that they have lost to and considering the teams that they have beaten this year. Hopefully, they can get right up to that A plus. Love to see them in the finals. Parramatta next, and I've got to say it's been an extremely disappointing season from an Eels fan's perspective. They are sitting at 4 wins and 9 losses right now, 6 points outside the top 8, plus they also boast the second worst defence in the comp right now. And you've got to say, injuries have definitely played a part in that. Gutherson out for a full month. We had Moses out for 10 weeks. Plus, they also sacked their longest serving coach in club history in Brad Arthur. It's not been a great season for the Eels, but I didn't expect them to make the 8 in the first place. I just didn't expect it to be this bad. However, it's not a complete fail for me for the Eels right now. I'm going to put them in as a D right now. Still room for improvement, but it's not all down in the dumps for the Eels. Let's go to the Roosters next, and it's been a mixed season for the Roosters, 7 wins, 6 losses, but some of the wins have been very impressive. 2 wins against the Broncos this year, who made the grand final last year, and they went on a run of 3 games that saw them score 138 points in those 3 weeks. In saying that though, losses to the Cowboys and the Sea Eagles seem a bit out of character for them this year. I do like this Roosters team, and I think they can do a much better job than they are currently doing. It's a B- for the moment. The newly coached Dragons are up now, and Shane Flanagan has done a remarkable job to get these guys off the bottom of the ladder where almost every pundit had them finishing this year. It's not been the greatest of seasons, but 7 wins and 6 losses isn't half bad, and they sit in 9th position just on points differential. However, there are some glaring fixtures in that 7 wins and 6 losses. The 60-point drubbing at the hands of the Roosters was not a good one, and it has firmly put them out of the race for the premiership this year. But in terms of where everyone had them finishing this year, they're getting a pass mark from me, C+ for the Dragons. Down to Bronco Town we go. With the Broncos, they have not had a great season, let's be completely honest. 7 wins, 6 losses, and for the team that made it all the way to the grand final last year, you definitely expected a little bit of a step up, if not more, in that regard. I just think in the way of injuries, they've had a lot to deal with, and it has not been easy for teams in previous years to make that grand final and back it up the year after. Look at the Eels, look at the Rabbitohs from 2021. A lot has not gone their way in the seasons post that grand final appearance, and for the Broncos, it's hard to recapture the magic. I understand that, but you got to be better than what they are producing at the moment. Their defense is a bit all over the place, and unfortunately for me, they get a C- this year. I just can't put them any higher at this stage. I would have thought about putting them lower just due to the expectations that they had on them, but it's a C minus for the moment. Out to the Sutherland Shire for some more positive news. The Sharks have been one of the best teams in 2024. I would argue the form team over the first 10 rounds, it's only fallen away a little bit in the last couple of weeks due to a few undersigning factors. And I think the loss to Penrith was a real wake up call for them that they needed to compete at a higher level if they want to be considered contenders this year. Aside from that, though, I think everyone had this team finishing in the top 8, but mostly in the 4 to 8 range. I also had them up there. I had them finishing in the top 4. I just thought that their schedule was too good to turn away from, and some of their results have been impressive this year. Wins against the Warriors, the Roosters, and the Storm are things to note, and I just think that there's one result that didn't go their way, and I just spoke about it. The 42-0 drubbing at the hands of the Panthers at home stops them from getting an A+ this year. It's an A- at the moment. I do think that the Sharks, if they can continue to find the form that saw them beat the Storm and the Roosters in back-to-back weeks, they can be a real threat in 2024. The Newcastle Knights are up next, and for those of you who watch my tipping videos every week, you will know that I love the Newcastle Knights. I think they have a few things to be very happy about this year, mostly on the bright young players front. Fletcher Sharp, who's just come into the team, looks brilliant. David Armstrong had a fantastic debut and a couple of games after that. Dylan Lucas is outstanding, and Kai Pearce-Paul is a freak in the back row. It's just on the side of attacking talent for me. They have the third worst attacking team in the comp at the moment, and they've only eclipsed 30 points once this season. I'm going to have to give the Knights a C at the moment. For me, they're sitting about right where I thought they'd be this year. 13th, 14th, 15th even. I just don't see it coming together for the Knights in 2024, but they do have a lot to be happy about moving forward. And with Kalen Ponga coming back, I'm sure he'll provide that attacking spark that they are so needing right now. The Raiders are up next, and for a team that sits 5th on the ladder, you would not think that every person that I know had them finishing in the bottom 4, including myself. For the Raiders, I do think that they are overperforming right now. The introduction of KO Weeks has been a masterstroke. Again, not a player that I thought would change the fortunes of the Raiders this year, but they have had some very interesting matchups in terms of the fixtures that they have won. They are still yet to beat a top 8 team from last season, and you've got to say that some of the matches that they've won, they've made it very close in a few of them. They have a couple of 1-point victories, so games that really could have gone either way. But for the Raiders, I've got to say it's been a positive season to this point, and you've got to judge them on that. And considering that everyone had them finishing in the bottom 4 this year, I've got to give them a B+. I just think the thing that keeps them from being an A is that real marquee win that they are yet to land this year, but hopefully it comes in the last 13 rounds of the season. The boys from Brookie are up next, and to say that Manly has had a mixed season is a bit of an understatement this year. They do have impressive wins on their resume from the 2024 season in beating the Roosters, the Panthers, and the Storm. All 3 are teams that people consider to be contenders for this year's title. I just think for the Sea Eagles, it all relies on Tom Trbojevic being in the side, and once again, he is out for an extended period of time. I'm very interested to see where he comes back and plays in this team. But for right now, I think the Sea Eagles are a C+. I just think that they have a pass mark right now, but some of the losses that they have incurred where they should have won games is really telling, and I can't put them any higher than a C+. The Storm are up now, and they have been impressive this year. Just the 3 losses on their resume, and they boast the 3rd best defense in the competition, and defense wins championships. I do think that there is some caution for the Storm at the moment. They do tend to make games a lot closer than they possibly should be. They went on a run which saw them only win games by less than 4 points earlier in the season. But I think that winning those games more often than not is a sign that these guys are finals ready. You've got to be able to win the close games, and they are finding a way to win each and every week, and they are rightfully top of the competition table. They do have some injury concerns in the forms of Ryan Pappenhausen and Cameron Munster right now. They aren't 100% perfect. That would be an A plus for me, but they definitely get an A this year. I just can't really fault the Storm. They are impressive and look like they're going to go all the way to the grand final this year, you would have to say. It was up the waz in 2023, but will it be up the waz in 2024? The Warriors, their start to the season was not ideal, let's be completely honest. Sitting at 6 wins, 1 draw, and 6 losses currently, I do think that the Warriors are a little bit hard done by when it came to the media earlier in the season, and had they not gone on the run that they've been on in the last month or so, this grade could have been a lot lower. I've put them at a C+, and I think that that is an admirable position to be in where there's room for improvement. It's not a complete fail. They are definitely on the improve, and with SJ coming back into the side, I expect them to really push and make a charge into the finals, much like they did in 2023. Let's hope the Wars can keep the momentum flowing and see where they end up at the end of the year. Off to Tiger Town we go, and for the Tigers, their start to the season was great. I thought that they had really fixed a fair few of the issues that plagued them in last year's competition. They won 2 out of their first 3 games, and they had the bye, so they were sitting in the top 8 for the first time in a long time. And since then, they've gone on a nice 9-game losing streak. And for Tigers fans, it's got to be an absolute blow to the soul at this point in time to watch their team each and every week just disappoint them over and over again. I will say, though, the grade for this team is a D. And the reason that I haven't put them as a complete F is because was it expected at all that they would be down the bottom of the table? A lot of people had them finishing still in the bottom 4. And for them to be last, well, it's not really expected. And I think that you can really only give a team a massive fail if that they were expected to do what they are currently doing. But on a number of fronts right now, including the locker room noise that's currently going on, man, they've got a lot of issues to sort out, and I hope the Tigers can improve by the end of the season. The Gold Coast Titans are up next, and for the first 7 rounds of the season, you thought, was this team ever going to win another game? And in round 8, their prayers were answered against the Warriors, and since then, they've added another couple of wins to their resume. I just think sitting at 3 wins and 9 losses is not where Des Hasler pictured his team being, and I think a lot of pundits had this team finishing somewhere around the 9-10, maybe even squeaking into the top 8 region. Losing your captain in the preseason is definitely a massive loss, and Tino being the player that he is for not only his club but for Queensland, it's tough to recover that kind of output. And the Titans have struggled since then, plus injuries have definitely hurt them. I just think that they're a C- at the moment. Their last 6 to 7 rounds has definitely stopped them from being an absolute fail. They've been much better in defense. They're making games a lot closer. And I think with a couple of guys back that they can get a few extra wins. I don't think they're going to be in the finals this year. I've completely ruled them out. But a C- is not bad considering some of the other teams on this list. The next team up is the South Sydney Rabbitohs, and it's another team that sacked their coach mid-season this year, sitting at 3 wins and 9 losses currently for the season. And you've got to not give this team any credit whatsoever right now. They have disappointed on a number of fronts. They have the worst defense in the comp, and if that is something that you would have told me before the season started, I would have laughed you out of the room. I think everyone had this team finishing in a final position this year, considering they'd fall off from last year, but they only continued it into this year. And I've got to give them an F just because of the expectations that were put on them this year. No doubt they expected better of themselves, and they have let down their fan base. It's not all doom and gloom at the moment. It is only halfway through the season, and some of their players have been playing much better in recent weeks, and that defense is slowly getting much better at the moment. I do think that the Rabbitohs will not finish in the bottom 4 this year, but to make the finals after the start to the season that they have had, it's an almost impossible task. Unfortunately, they get an F from me. My North Queensland Cowboys are up now, and to tell you this season has been a roller coaster will be an understatement of the year. We won 4 out of our first 5 games. Then we went on a 5-game losing streak. Then we won 3 in a row, and our most recent loss has come at the hands of the Warriors. I just think for the Cowboys, it's been disappointing on the defensive side of the ball. Plus, we also have the worst completion rate in the NRL. And to watch my team each and every week drop the ball and beat themselves most of the time is just not a position I want to be put in. I could understand it if we were getting beaten by a better team each and every week and we weren't providing opportunities to the opposition. But for us to just continue to put ourselves under pressure, let the other team score 20 plus points, and then try and run them down at the end of the game, it just isn't good enough. And that's why they're getting a D from me this year. It's not a complete fail considering we have won a few games, but I know a lot of people expected us to be doing a lot better. And so did I. I expected us to be in the top 8 at this point in the season. And I thought our schedule was also quite nice. Yeah, hopefully they can improve and get into the top 8, but right now it's a D for me. Last but certainly not last in the 2024 season at the moment, it's the surprise packets of the year, the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Now, they currently boast the second best defence in the league, and that is a complete 180 from last year where they had a bottom 3 defence in the competition. They are sitting at 7 wins and 6 losses, and I've got to say, for them to be in the position that they are in right now, I don't know if a lot of people saw it coming, and that is why I have to give them a good grade this year. They are currently sitting in an A for me. It's just the amount of surprise that has come with the emergence of certain players. We've seen Critter really step up and become one of the best captains in the NRL. I do think that there is a bit of debate as to who partners Burton in the halves currently. Burton seems to be hitting a run of form at the moment, but who supports him is still up for debate. And there's also a couple of question marks over their current forward pack and whether it can compete at the highest level of the game. But for the Dogs, I'm extremely happy to give them a great grade this year. Good to see a team that has been struggling do well, and hopefully they can continue it and make the finals for the first time in a fair few years. So that's it for the video, guys. What were your mid-season grades? Let me know down in the comments section below. Please make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel. We bring out so much content each and every week, and I'll catch you on the next one.